Hi everyone, welcome to Diana's Table. Today we're going to make summer cabbage kimchi. This is my version of kimchi that's really good for the hot summer months. Now I'm going to show you how to make the seasoning for the cabbage kimchi. We're going to use sugar, fish sauce, Gochugaru, chili pepper, minced garlic, minced ginger, blend of apple and pear if you have it, it's an optional, and vegetable stock. It's really to preserve the taste of kimchi for a longer time, but also it keeps it crunchy. So I'll give you the recipe for the vegetable stock later. Now we're going to make the seasoning. You add 1 cup of gochugaru. Oops, I knew that would happen. And you add half a cup of fish sauce. Why am I shaking so much? And then you have 1 tablespoon of sugar. I don't really like to add too much sugar to cabbage kimchi because cabbage itself is sweet enough usually. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, another tablespoon of minced ginger. And to add to its natural sweetness, and I add a blend of apple and pear pureed. And I also add some vegetable stock. I'm going to share the recipes for the vegetable stock separately. You mix it well. You have to make sure that you mix it thoroughly to make sure that all the seasons mingle together. It looks kind of watery right now, but if you let it stand overnight, it will become kind of more thick, and that'll be ready to use then. So as you can see, it has been thickened, and it almost has the texture of gochujang, but it's actually, and this kind of sauce you can make way ahead. You can keep it in your refrigerator for up to 3 months. Actually, when you're cutting cabbage, you have to make sure that the inside and the outside, you separate them into 2 sections and cut, because that way you make sure that the sizes are even. Now I'm going to cut the cabbage into half. And then I'm going to remove the stem and separate the inner leaves. You have to do it sort of gently so it doesn't break too much. And I usually like to cut it again into quarters before I cut it into small sections. This way you can make sure that all the sizes are pretty even, and that way you can make sure that most of the cabbage tastes crunchy till the end. Take the outside again, and the most ideal size would be if you can have it maybe 1 inch by 1 inch. And actually sometimes it's really difficult to cut the inner leaves because they tend to be more tight, and make sure that you separate them out, and so that the seasonings can get onto it, can coat it equally. So I'm going to pour salted water over the cabbage, hot salted water. And this is to make sure that the cabbage stays nice and crunchy throughout the duration. So here, don't worry about cooking the cabbage. It's not going to cook. It's just going to salt the water. Make sure that you stir the cabbage in the water so that the salted water gets evenly over the cabbage. I'm just going to let it sit for about 10 minutes. After about 15 minutes, I think the cabbage should be salted well enough. You should drain and wash it in cold water 2 to 3 times. You have to make sure that all the salt is, or whatever the salt that's remaining on the cabbage is rinsed. You don't want the cabbage to be too salty because the seasoning will have enough saltiness to cover. And you know that it's been salted well, but when you pick up some pieces and you bend it, and it bends very well, easily, like this, without breaking. If it bends well without breaking, then it's been salted well. Now I'm going to cut the onions. I like to cut the onions about the same size as the cabbages. So probably into 6 sections. Summer onions can be a little bit bitter sometimes. So sometimes I would recommend you use Hawaiian onions if you're available. And I'm going to add the scallions. I'm going to cut the heads a little bit, not use them, and cut sort of make sure that the onion heads are not too thick, because you also want to make sure the seasoning is well covered. Then you cut it into probably an inch in length. You don't want it too long or too short. So in Korean cooking, it's very important that you cut things similar size or similar shape when cooking. So scallions that go in. Okay, so I'm going to mix seasoning to the cabbage. I'm going to wear plastic gloves so the spicy seasoning doesn't hurt my hand. So take 2 big dollops. Don't use all of the seasoning because it might be too much or too little, so you save a little bit. Mix gently. Already it smells really good and mouth-watering. So you have to make sure that the seasoning is coated evenly over the cabbage. It's ready. So I'm going to transfer to a glass kimchi jar. I can keep it in the refrigerator after a day of being in the room temperature. And I can keep this kimchi crunchy and tasty for up to 3 months. But you may not be able to keep it that long because everybody will eat it in a couple weeks. add all the last of the seasoning. With cabbage kimchi, you can actually eat it now without waiting for it to ferment. But it does taste much better after waiting for a day in room temperature. Then you can put it in the refrigerator and you can eat it up to 3 months. So the reason I pat it down gently but also firmly is to prevent the air pockets in the bottom part of the jar. This way it keeps it from molding and also keeps it crunchy. And to also help with that, I'm going to cover the kimchi with a little bit of plastic. I usually use a plastic bag rather than a plastic wrap, so it's easier to cover. And then you put the cover on. It's ready.